Hello, my name is Nick Lewis, and today we're going to be discussing special card throwing techniques with emphasis on the card returning to the hand, a simulacrum of the Australian boomerang. And we will also be discussing avant-garde throwing techniques. Now I will be discussing the card to the hand, or as I like to call it, the boomerang card. Now the most important thing about the grip of the boomerang throw is that it needs to be in the Herman grip. Hopefully everyone will remember the Herman grip from the second video of the series, so there's no need to explain it how to do it. When you throw the card up in the air, it's important for the index finger to move backwards, just like this. Most of the spin of the card in this particular throw will actually come from the index finger. The shot of the boomerang card is extremely important. It's important to keep a completely relaxed shoulder. Have your right foot facing towards the target, and then have the card starting at the waist. And with the relaxed shoulder, go upwards to about the level of your chest. And then, as we discussed in the previous clip, turn your finger towards you, spinning the card and releasing it into the air. In this shot, you don't want the card to go any further than approximately 7 to 8 feet. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for the card to return to your hand, especially when you're outside and dealing with elements such as the wind. So again, the motion should look like this. And now, a demonstration. Now we will be discussing the card into the deck from the boomerang or up into the air, as some aficionados of card throwing like to call it. This essentially involves opening up the deck, throwing the card up into the air, and having it land into the deck. A very impressive trick for friends and parties. So the technique of this trick is very simple in theory, but difficult in practice. First thing you want to do is open up the deck, just like this. And then you want to take the card in the Herman grip, and you want to throw it approximately where these two fingers, that's your middle finger and your ring finger, are, and release the card. And then you're going to throw it up, and it's actually going to land in the deck. You do it with proper accuracy, which will take a lot of practice. And then you want to, once it's about here, you're actually going to close the deck, which will secure the card permanently until you remove it. And this is a great thing to do at parties to impress one's friends or other people. Yes, a perfect trick to impress one's friends or other people. And it will probably be the latter if you're doing card throwing, because you probably won't have any friends. Now that we have covered the Australian boomerang technique, and also the card up into the air, landing into the deck, and closing the deck technique, we will be discussing such avant-garde techniques as the flick and other unusual grips. For this next trick, you will need a full deck of playing cards. You want to hold the deck in the biddle grip, as it's called in the magician's vocabulary. Essentially, you're just holding it between your thumb and your index finger. In the flick, you want the card to be perpendicular to the rest of them, as far away, as far off to the side as it can go without falling over. And then, for the release, you're going to literally take your index finger and flick the card off. Make sure you hold the deck in a very loose fashion. And you will follow through, and it will propel the card forward at a distance of approximately 7 to 14 feet. Now we are going to be discussing all of the other avant-garde grips in one segment. The first avant-garde grip is the variation of the Thurston grip. If we remember, the Thurston grip is held between the index and the middle finger, just like this, with your thumb on top and your fingers curled underneath. This avant-garde grip, which does not have any formal name, is held between your ring finger and your middle finger, just like this. You can have your thumb resting here, which will add support, but it's not necessary. The reason some people may want to do this grip is because it will provide extra power to the shot, and it may even provide extra distance, especially at the beginner level. There are even some professional card throwers and magicians that use this as their main grip. Another grip that we did not discuss is the classical Japanese grip. While this tends to be one of the most commonly used grips today, I consider it to be avant-garde because it's not mentioned in any of the standard literature of card throwing. It's an impromptu way for beginner card throwers to try to throw cards. And this way is essentially taking your index finger and your middle finger and putting it right here on the right side of the card. From here, I think that it's most advisable to place the card, this edge of the card, the right lower edge, onto this part of your palm, which will provide stability. There is a great Japanese master who, as far as I can tell, is completely nameless, that uses this technique. I will provide a link to his videos underneath my video in the description, and you can see how effective this can be for accuracy. Now, many of you may know the video of Master of Business Card Throwing, and he really is quite good. Congratulations to him for the great skill that he's been able to achieve. It's using this same technique, but combining it with the other avant-garde grip that we had already discussed. This is essentially using this same fundamental principle, except using these two fingers to do it, the middle finger and the ring finger. And you hold it just like this, and he does it leaving a little bit of the edge of the card out from these two fingers. And he takes a lot of spin and flicks it almost downward, which provides the necessary spin for it to travel with excellent accuracy. Another much more unusual grip that was used in South America is called the pinky flick. The pinky flick involves taking the ring finger and the pinky finger and holding it just like this, as you can see, with not much of the card hanging out on the end of the fingers. And what you want to do in this grip is just bend the wrist, not using much arm, and literally try to flick your wrist, releasing this top finger and just letting it spin off. Now this may seem like a completely useless avant-garde grip. The reason it's useful is because it does, believe it or not, add great speed to the card. And last of all, we will be discussing the infamous thumb flick, and invented by the magician Robert Houdin. He would literally take his thumb and place it on the card like this. And please notice that it is completely straight. And then he would wrap his index finger around the bottom of the card, perpendicular to the thumb. Please notice how this looks from the bottom. And then he would quite literally use all of his strength and somehow flick the card, and it would travel approximately 20 or 30 feet. Now, I won't lie to you, in my opinion, that throw is absolutely useless in practical situations. It may, however, be useful if you want to impress people with your mad card throwing skills. And those are the avant-garde grips. Now I will be demonstrating the first avant-garde grip that we talked about. I will not be demonstrating the rest of the grips, because in the air they all look exactly the same. The only difference is the grip. And you'll find that the only reason that these avant-garde grips exist is either to make card throwing more difficult than it needs to be, or to impress people. Or maybe it really is your preference. It's not likely, but maybe it is. Please join me for my next video, when we will be discussing the principles of self-defense and how to deter robbers or anyone else that comes to mind.